When I realized it, I was back home. I have no idea how I got back from yesterday evening until now. You might be thinking, what are you talking about? But I want you to hear about what I experienced. It was probably around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. I left work early at 5, went straight home, and as usual, I turned on my PC. I ate a convenience store bento while watching YouTube, Netflix, and browsing the internet. Around the time I had eaten half of the bento, the doorbell rang. Without checking who it was through the peephole, I instinctively opened the door, but there was no one there. I wonder if it's a prank. Kids these days don't usually do doorbell ditch. I thought to myself as I sat back in front of the PC and started surfing the net. I purposely positioned my favorite computer desk by the window to let light in easily, so as not to strain my eyes from the computer's glow. Suddenly, I looked out of the window adjacent to the computer desk and something seemed odd. The sky was red. It's not the level of orange that the sky turns when the sun sets. It's a deep, vivid red. I tried to capture the scene with my smartphone, but no matter how many times I pressed the shutter button, the screen remained dark. On top of that, my phone's signal was strangely out of range, just as I was thinking how strange everything was. The doorbell rang again. I clicked my tongue lightly and rushed to open the door, intending to startle the mischievous kid outside by yelling, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" at the top of my voice. As I swung the door open, a middle-aged man stood before me. "What?" "Can I help you, sir?" I said. The man remained silent. "I beg your pardon. Who are you?" I asked, but he still didn't respond. Instead, he stared at me intently. As I grew more bewildered, the man took out his mobile phone and began speaking. I couldn't quite make out what he was saying. In fact, it was a language I had never heard before. Despite his Asian appearance, I found myself wondering about his nationality. I thought to myself, this foreigner must have the wrong apartment. He should hurry back to his own. While he continued to glare at me and speak on the phone through the door, there was no sign of him hanging up. Frustrated, I tried to forcefully close the door, but the man promptly wedged his foot in the gap, stopping me. I emotionally exclaimed, my tone growing harsh. "Who the hell are you?" I finally got the man to speak. He asked me to step outside for a moment. As soon as I stepped outside, I couldn't help but notice that the sky was a deep red. It wasn't the typical reddish orange of dusk. Could this be a sign of major disaster? "What's going on? And who are you?" I asked when I stepped out and saw the strange red sky. It was truly an abnormal sight. "I can't explain in detail right now, but could you come with me?" the man asked. With a strong sense of distrust towards the man, I demanded, "First, who are you?" When he mentioned his last name, it was an unusual one that I hardly ever hear in Japan, and he happened to be the same as mine. Was it just a coincidence? I still couldn't grasp the situation. While I was in a state of confusion, the man made contact with someone, and within a few minutes a van pulled up in front of my apartment. A man who appeared to be in his 40s emerged from the driver's seat. He had a chin beard and mustache. He approached me silently, grabbed my arm, and forcibly pulled me into the van. The man in his 40s was driving, and the man who appeared at the entrance and I sat in the back seat. The car was driving through an area that seemed to have the nearest station in the neighborhood. I could see the cityscape, but it was quite different from the city I knew. First of all, there was no station where it was originally supposed to be, and there were no train tracks. And here and there were buildings that I didn't remember, and the characters on the signs attached to the buildings were somehow unreadable, like they were pixelated. "Listen, this place is different from the world you were in. It's a place called the static space, a space isolated from the flow of time, where countless parallel worlds drift," explained the man in his 40s. I didn't understand at all. Was I in a different space in the universe? I was getting frustrated and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? This is my hometown. Are you trying to kidnap me? This is a serious crime." Then two of them chuckled. "If we talk about kidnapping, we're undoubtedly kidnappers. However, please try to understand the situation you're in a little more," I was told. The car stopped on a bridge in an area that was not in my hometown. The valley where the bridge was situated was a sheer cliff, and if you looked down from the bridge, there was a large river flowing several hundred meters below. After being forcibly pushed into the car from my apartment, and passing through an area that seemed to be around the local station, I arrived at this place. However, the time I spent in the car was about 15 minutes in subjective perception. The scenery around the bridge was surrounded by high mountains. Considering that I live in the suburbs of Tokyo, and within a 15-minute radius by car from the local nearest station in the outskirts, regardless of whether it's towards downtown or the suburbs, the cityscape is surrounded by buildings. It's impossible to arrive at a place surrounded by mountains in less than 15 minutes. At least I thought, this must be a dream. How exhausted must I be to have such a bewildering dream? Then they said, "Well, it's not a dream, but let's just think of it as one. Would you be willing to jump from there?" Even in the dream, the highest was terrifying. I estimated it to be several hundred meters down to the valley where the bridge was installed overlooking the river below. "It's impossible," I answered, of course. "Oh no, it's a dream. It's just a dream. So it's okay, come on." They said this and simultaneously pushed me off. I closed my eyes, thinking I'm gonna die, and in an instant, I was sitting in front of my PC in my room. Huh? I was in a daze for a while. I had been eating the bento until the doorbell rang. It was there still half eaten. The time was 9 in the morning. The soles of my feet were dirty, and there were small petal-like bits scattered on my bed, as if they had fallen from my feet. On my phone, there was a saved picture of the sky, presumably taken from the window of my home. In the saved photo, the sky was blue.